Thank you, Sue. And today's scripture, we're going to focus on Exodus for a minute here. And got to tell you, it's an interesting passage because it's right in the middle of the golden calf incident, shall we call it. The golden calf affair, and as Alexis pointed out. And it's a nice passage about God's wrath against the Israelites, then Moses interceding on their behalf. And then God relents and spares the people, right? The talk about God's wrath is pretty scary in there, right? It's like, I'm just going to wipe these people out and start over with you, Moses. That's what he says. But it's nice to know that intercessory prayer works, right? It's nice to know. Well, let me tell you, there's a reason that those 7 verses are the ones that are in the lectionary, because the rest of the story is wild. All right? It's wild. It's, all right, I got to go through the whole story. It's storytelling time. Back up a little bit to Exodus to get the backstory. You have to back up to the part of Exodus that you're used to hearing about. We all know about the plagues, right? And that Moses splits the Sea of Reeds, right? And that they go through it. And that's like the first 15 chapters of Exodus. And that's the exciting part of the story that everybody knows. But after that, those are the action sequences. And after that, it gets a little boring. Exodus gets into law giving. It's part of the Torah. It's part of the old part of those 5 books of Moses that explain the law. And it gets pretty bogged down in that. But after this whole business in Egypt, the Israelites roam around for a while, and after about 3 months, they arrive at Mount Sinai. Moses goes up to the mountain to talk to God. And God tells Moses, "You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, therefore, if you obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession out of all the peoples. Indeed, the whole earth is mine, but you shall be for me a priestly kingdom and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the Israelites." So God is making a covenant with the Israelites, with the people that he just rescued. "If you do as I say, I will make you holy and set you apart as a nation to be a priest to other nations, to communicate me to the whole world. You'll be my treasured possession," God says. Moses takes these words to the people and they say, "Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, that's kind of a deal you can't refuse, right? That's an offer you can't refuse." Right away, God starts telling the people the rules of this covenant, right? If you're in covenant with me, then these are the things, this is the Torah, the teachings, the law, right? And it gets into this where God gives the 10 Commandments. That's the first thing that happens after they agree to this covenant. That's where the 10 Commandments happen in Exodus. But after that, there are more than 10 rules. There's a lot of rules. And it goes into rules about social justice. It goes into the rules about the Sabbath and about festivals and how properly to worship, all kinds of stuff. And Moses goes up and down the mountains getting these instructions and relaying them to the Israelites. Then it goes into a rather boring section. Most of chapters 26 through 31 are about how to set up the tabernacle. Okay, it's about how to set things up, rules for the priest, and how you set up the altar, how it's properly done, and what worship properly looks like. To be honest, that section gets really tedious. We don't like to just read about all these rules in our modern minds. Well, apparently ancient people weren't any different than us. They thought it was boring too. Because apparently it bored them so much that the next time Moses goes up the mountain, they immediately break all the rules he just told them. The first thing they do, after being told how to set up the altar and how to set up the tabernacle, is that they do exactly what God said don't do, and they made a golden calf. Right? They made this idol to worship, and as you said, kind of steal the glory, right? The glory was supposed to go to God for rescuing them from the Israelites, and now we're creating this cow and calling it God. They liked to worship cows back then, right? The symbol of fertility, so it probably was a bull, in fact, which would be a symbol of fertility. But it abhorred them so much that they immediately did that and then threw a party. They sing and dance around it and have this big party, not worshiping the way God said to do, but worshiping the way they wanted to, like a teenager. The first chance you get, you do exactly what you're told not to do. So the covenant, right off the bat, is off to a really rocky start. This is the point in the story when today's reading comes from. Moses goes up the mountain, unaware of what the Israelites are doing back down there. God fills him in, though, and on what they're doing down there. They've made for themselves a golden calf, and they're worshiping it. And he threatens to do some good old-fashioned smiting. Just going to smite them all. But Moses intervenes. Moses reminds them, no, your agreement was that they were going to be your people. They've messed up, but you still agreed that they were going to be your people. So God repents of this, or relents of this, I should say, gives up this idea of just smiting them all down. Has mercy. Sounds like a great lesson and a great conclusion, right? That God is faithful. We often get into this thing of us being faithful to God, but God is faithful to us. And this is an example of that. Feels like a great stopping point, doesn't it? Wrong. It just gets crazier after that. Moses goes back down to the mountain to the Israelites. Keep in mind, God just told him. Moses just told God, simmer down. Let's not kill them all. So what does Moses go down and do? He goes down there, sees them singing and dancing and throwing a party around the golden calf, and he gets so angry that he throws the tablets he was carrying. Remember Charlton Heston, the movie, and throwing them down, right? Destroys the tablets, literally breaking the law. Then he takes the calf, melts it down, grinds it into a powder, and makes the people drink it. He made them drink their idol. Okay, it's kind of weird. But it doesn't stop there. No, Moses then gathers up the tribe of Levi to take their swords and go through the camp and slaughter the people who were involved in the golden calf incident. They kill 3,000 people. Remember, Moses just convinced God not to do the killing. And then Moses went down and did the killing himself. Isn't that kind of crazy? After all that trouble to save them from God's wrath, Moses couldn't save them from his own wrath. And I always kind of pictured God saying, I told you, aren't they infuriating? I picture Moses and God going, I never thought it would make me that angry, but that's what happened, right? And then Moses goes back up to the mountain and begs forgiveness from God, not really from his own actions, but again, from their sins with the golden calf. So you think the episode is over now, right? No. There's still one last sentence. And it reads, then the Lord sent a plague on the people because they made the calf, the one that Aaron made. So even more death and destruction. A wild story. God who just said, no, I'm not going to kill him, but then sends him a plague. What's going on here? What a mess. Drinking gold, being slaughtered by the sword, dying by the plague, both from God and Moses, the same Moses that convinces God not to do anything rash. You get whiplash in this story. It goes back and forth. I'm going to punish them. No, don't punish them. I'm going to punish them myself. No, I'm going to punish them. It's a very dysfunctional family right from the get-go. And you're probably wondering, what is the point of this? What is this story trying to tell you? Is it that when you sin, you're going to get punished by someone? Is it that intercessory prayer works, as that little passage that we did read today suggests? Or is it about our sinful nature and our strong tendency towards rebellion? What is this messy, confusing, rebellious new relationship with God all about? And that's where I think your answer is. The mess is the answer. The mess is the message. For the authors of the Old Testament, this is just the beginning of a very unruly relationship with the law of God. It's the beginning of their history, a history that will get played out in the rest of the Old Testament through the kingdoms of David and his successors, who will neglect the poor and vulnerable and commit idolatry. To the prophets who will call them out for their misdoings, the Hebrew Bible is a testament of self-criticism. And this is just the beginning. It starts this way, and the entire story of the Israelite kingdom and their inability to keep the law. The story is a precursor to the sins for which Psalm 51, which is attributed to David, in which he asks for atonement, is foreshadowing our rebellious relationship with God. Even when we have direct revelation of God's will, we screw it up immediately. And as has Moses and the Israelites had direct revelation of God's will at Mount Sinai, we had direct revelation of God's will through Jesus Christ. And to all the new members who join today, we as followers of Jesus, we inherit this tradition. We've inherited the tendency for messiness. The church is messy. We get things right, then we get things wrong. We're devastated by a pandemic, then we're blessed by abundant giving. We argue about things we should be in unity about, and we come together when someone needs us. We're free from the law, living instead in the grace of Jesus Christ, but we are still going to get a lot of things wrong. We're going to complain about the pastor's sermons, the song choices, what color we're going to paint Community Hall. Don't worry, we're not painting it. About we're going to get in battles with the city about a permit for a shed. But in the end, we live under grace, and we're going to extend grace, love each other, and live as a messy community that simply doesn't get it right all the time. That messiness extends to our fight for justice. The messiness extends to what you've seen this week. Our response is to live in love despite the messiness. Our response is to call out injustice, yet also live in mercy, which is at tension. It is at tension to be pointing out injustice. It's in tension for the fact that all of the people talking this week about Charlie Kirk saying, well, there's like these two sides. Everybody loves him on this side, and on this side, everybody says, yeah, he said some horrible things, and he did. He said some monstrous things, about the LGBTQ community, about women, about black people, about just pretty much anybody that he could put down. We mourn for that injustice, but we also continue to practice peace. We have to be that peaceful presence in the world that is burning. But take some comfort, as we were talking in the Bible study yesterday, about the world has been burning. That's what Jesus Christ is about. When we were reading in the New Testament thinking, boy, things were a mess. Things are a mess now. Well, look, they were a mess then too. And they were a mess during the golden calf incident. And they are a mess. We commit to living in the mess. God's infallible justice is just kind of at odds with our imperfection. But we do have something that they didn't have back then. As I said, we have the revelation of Jesus Christ. The church isn't the only thing that's messy. The whole world is messy. How about the messiness of having that political assassination at the same time as having a school shooting, and which one got the coverage in the news? The children or a political voice? That's right, I feel the same way. Wars in the Middle East and Europe and Africa, but we have the example of Jesus Christ. Injustice for immigrants and the poor, but we have the example of Jesus Christ. Only in Jesus do we have the clearest vision of what God is like. Not in the violent stories about smiting people, but in Jesus Christ who taught forgiveness, healing, and mercy. So let's live in that mercy. Not in the violent reaction of Moses that started our relationship with God, but in the revelation of Jesus Christ that guaranteed it. Amen?